back for round two. So, this is going to be my thoughts on my most anticipated movie to talk about that came out this summer and its original predecessor. These are going to be my thoughts on Twister 1996 and Twisters 2024. So, let's go ahead and get started. Twister was conceived in 1996, and it is directed by Jan de Bont, which is the director of Speed, which you see that. And surprisingly enough, Michael Crichton actually produced this as well. And he wrote Jurassic Park. But this stars Bill Paxton, Helen Hunt, Philip Seymour Hoffman, Cary Elwes, Jamie Gertz, and many, many other people. But this is about storm chasers trying to get inside a tornado and seeing what its effects are. There we go. So, our main character here is Helen Hunt, and the way this movie starts off is a tragedy because she was like a little girl and a tornado just touched down near her home, and her dad tried to protect them by holding the cellar door, but he got sucked into a tornado. If you don't know about that by now, then you obviously haven't seen Twister. But she's been haunted by this her entire life, and things get kind of worse when Bill Paxton enters the picture. He is now going to be married again to his fiancée, and her name is Melissa, and Bill Paxton starts having feelings again for Helen Hunt, and ultimately Bill Paxton and Jamie Gertz just break up, and then Helen Hunt and Bill Paxton get back together. But the side characters in here are very memorable as well. I mean, you got Philip Seymour Hoffman in this thing, and he's easily the best side character. He is Dusty, and he just like drives this bus called Barn Burner, and I actually did see that bus in the Hollywood Car Museum in Branson, so pretty cool stuff. But they just chase tornadoes and get all scientific with it. But then you have the rival storm chasers led by Cary Elwes, and not a very smart character. He's just in it for the money, not the science. That is actually a quote in this movie. But he's very antagonistic to our heroes, and near the end of the film, there is an EF5 tornado that just wreaks havoc. What does he do? He goes straight into it, and even Bill Paxton acknowledges, stupid. Yeah, it's pretty stupid. But this has always been one of my favorite natural disaster films ever, especially in the 90s, because that was a peak time for natural disaster movies. You had like Dante's Peak, Volcano, uh, Deep Rising, I believe. Or was it? It was something right. Deep Impact is what I'm thinking of. But there was a movie that had Rising in the title. I have to look that up. But that was about like a flood. But anyway, this was probably the most popular one that everybody has seen. And special effects still hold up nearly 30 years later. And this is just a rollicking, fun time. So I would easily give Twister an A. I think this is the perfect dumb natural disaster film. And yeah. So those are my thoughts on Twister 1996. And now on to Twisters. Very original title for a sequel. This isn't really a sequel, in my opinion. It's more of like a soft reboot that wants to be a legacy sequel, but it's not. But this follows brand new characters and barely has anything to do with the original one, which is probably going to disappoint a lot of people. The only thing remotely similar to what they do in this movie is show Dorothy 5. That's about it. But this is a brand new original story, and this stars the likes of Glenn Powell and Daisy Edgar Jones and Anthony Ramos as your three main characters. So Glenn Powell is Tyler Owens, and he is a YouTuber, which is kind of interesting. And he calls his team the Tornado Wranglers. So he just makes a fool out of himself and just goes straight into the tornado and shoots fireworks inside of it to like get data, I guess. But this movie also begins with a tragedy, and Daisy Edgar Jones and her team are chasing tornadoes, and her team mostly gets sucked up, and she is pretty much haunted by that as well. But then she develops feelings for Glenn Powell. But this chemistry isn't as strong as Bill Paxton and Helen Hunt. I mean, it's a hate to like relationship. I mean, there's barely any kissing by them, which that doesn't really matter to me, but they're not really romantically linked. But this also follows like basically the formula of the first one, where you have like likable side characters, and they are pretty good, but not as memorable as the original characters. So basically their goal in here is to actually capture a 3D model of a tornado perfectly. So they had to like put down these sensors around the tornado to deliver that data to the NWS. So a little bit different than what they do in the original. So yeah. And I do like the effects in here. The soundtrack is really good, but country is not really my thing. I'm more of like a rock guy, so I wanted a little bit more rock on this soundtrack, but that's kind of a nitpick. The destruction scenes are very well done. The rodeo scene was pretty intense, and when they go to like this town, everything is just wiped out. They just have to seek refuge in a movie theater, and it suspends your believability. I mean, no basement, so all they had to do was hold on to seats. They would easily get sucked up. And there are definitely some deaths in this movie. So, this movie does take that natural disaster route and makes it grandiose and dramatic, but it also has the complexity of natural disasters and the danger within them. Twister does have that as well, but you actually get the aftermath of a tornado and all the damage and destruction. Really, really rough stuff to see, because all these people just lose everything in an instant, and they can't do anything about it. So, yeah. It's a very scary concept in both films, and I hope to God that none of that ever comes near here. But a few years back, there was like a tornado that dropped about like 5-6 minutes from my house and got a little bit of damage. So that was the closest to a tornado that I would have witnessed. But still standing. But anyway, this definitely caters to fans of Twister and new fans of the natural disaster genre. But if you are a die-hard Twister fan like I am, don't expect any cameos. And I thought that was probably the most disappointing aspect of this movie. But I still had a really fun time with this movie. But the original is better. Don't get me wrong, this is still a really fun movie, but I would ultimately give Twisters a B. So, those are my thoughts on Twister and Twisters. Okay, that's all I got for this video. I'll see you guys in the next one. And don't endure the suck zone. Adios. Peace. and I don't see a flying cow anywhere.